with us today. Hey Brian. Alright, Buti, unjani na?
Nah, doing good.
Awesome, thank you for joining us this morning, man. So, I mean, you know, especially as Africans, we underestimate the importance of mental health. You know, sometimes we'll judge people to say, your life is way too good for you to be telling us about you are depressed or you are burnt out. What are you talking about? So can you please just give us a bit of insight on what the difference is between when you say someone is burnt out and someone is depressed? How do you distinguish those two things?
Well, I think those two things are the biggest parts of it is the actual stress cause itself. You know, because with somebody that's burnt out, if you could remove that stressful cause, or if you could resolve that stressful cause that has led them to having feelings of burnout, then those symptoms of burnout would kind of like lessen. But that would be a bit different with depression, right? So while both depression and burnout can involve feelings of fatigue, irritability, and difficulty with concentration, but these look differently. Depression is characterized with like pervasive feelings of sadness, loss of interest and pleasure in activities that were usually pleasurable before. There'll be a lot of changes in appetite and sleep disturbances, and sometimes even thoughts of death and suicide. You know, so we'll treat depression differently than we'll treat burnout. So the biggest difference is how we treat depression and burnout, and also how the symptoms will show up across the time. So those will be the biggest difference between those two.
Sure. And I mean, we usually associate burnout with work. It's almost like burnout and work go hand in hand. But can burnout exist outside of the workplace? And how else can you experience burnout?
Oh yes, definitely. It can exist outside of the workspace. Remember, it's always life tasks that we find quite meaningful in our lives that actually put a lot of strain in us, right? Relationships are something that's very meaningful, just like work is, because it allows us to provide for families. So you choose these responsibilities and they put a big strain on you. Now, if you experience this strain across a long period of time, right, and say it hasn't been resolved, that's when it gets sent to an experience of burnout. So yeah, definitely prolonged stress, regardless of from which responsibility that's been weighing heavy on you, it will eventually lead you to feeling experiences of burnout, yes.
And in terms of, you know, the numbers, I'm not talking necessarily statistics, but in terms of volume of people that you are treating, is this quite a big issue that we are dealing with as a country?
Yes, definitely. This is quite a big issue. And I think the two big things that I've picked up in a lot of individuals I've treated is the relationship they have with rest, and also the relationship they have with themselves. There's not a lot of people that are very quite self-aware in terms of how they're doing this coping thing when they are addressing all of these big responsibilities that they feel they have, right? I keep pushing and I feel like if I just need to work hard, I'll get through it and then I should be okay. Not understanding that it's taking a massive toll and it's being prolonged. And then eventually they get to a place where it's desperate cases now. Listen, I'm tired, my body can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do because I don't have anything in me anymore. And by that time it's too late and we've got to start working at bringing them back to their old selves, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and then the other part of it is just the idea around rest is that it's something to be earned, and that's not true. Rest forms part of what you do. You can't do what you do well if you haven't received any sort of rest. So it's not a reward that you've worked hard, now you can rest. It's part of the actual responsibility. So you need to fit it in so that you can continue doing what you're doing effectively. It doesn't help if you're burnt out and you're still trying to do it. So it's not going to be as effective. So yeah, so that's what I'm seeing.
So prioritizing rest and also self-awareness. Now tell me, can I say I am burnt out? Like, is it something that I can say, or do I need a diagnosis for that?
You can say you're burnt out, but for you to get to that space, that there needs to be a part of you that's self-aware enough to know when you're not moving in ways that are effective anymore. So when you're aware of those, okay, now I'm feeling quite irritable. Now I'm seemingly isolating myself more than usual. Now I'm feeling like I'm not fulfilled in any of the spaces that I'm engaging in. I'm starting to push people away. I'm starting to be more irritable. I'm becoming quite negative. You've got to be aware of those spaces, of those experiences. Then you can detect that, okay, maybe I'm burnt out because I've been overworking. So you can. You don't need to be diagnosed by a professional. That would be another difference between burnout and depression. With depression, you must be diagnosed.
And what age group is generally affected by this? Are kids affected by it, or is it like an adult?
I think it's more of once you get pressures from the environmental demand. So coming into high school, varsity, going forward, once you get that experience of I have certain demands that I need to meet, that's when you become prone to experiencing burnout. So from your high school kids to your varsity kids, right through to your working individuals will experience these.
And what are some of the consequences for not treating it?
So it's prolonged negativity. You're consistently irritable. You probably detach yourself from a lot of your life tasks, so which means your work, you start detaching yourself. Your relationships, you start detaching yourself, isolating yourself, and now you'll just continually experience decreased fulfillment. So a lot of margins start falling, which obviously now can lead to aggravated psychiatric concerns, such as that depression, such as that you're feeling chronically stressed because nothing around you is moving. So if you never get to a point where your interest is, they can eventually lead to aggravated psychiatric concerns. So this is something you definitely want to pick up, prevent, so that it doesn't end up being much larger than just the burnout experience, which itself is quite uncomfortable.
Wow. And I mean, in terms of advice, then, I mean, who's the first person who you need to go to if you are experiencing these symptoms? Would it be a psychologist immediately, or are there other processes?
I think generally the quickest or the most effective route is a straight line route, right? It's a straight line. So I think you might want to consult a psychologist for this, because they really allow you to see all the triggers that have left you here, right? All the reasons why you got to a space where you saw burnout. They will look at your mindset in terms of how you look at your day-to-day demands and how you engage with the day-to-day demands, and how is it that they leave you feeling quite burnout. So I think it will be a good idea for you to first seek out psychological assistance, but there are other ways as well. There are a lot of programs online. We also have a program online on burnout and encouraging back to category, whereby you can also just evaluate what could stress you, what are your vulnerable points of that, and how you can go about actually setting a burnout prevention plan so you can actually handle yourself before you get to a point where you're depressed. But family as well, family and friends are very good spaces to help you really monitor yourself and treat yourself. So also do consider those sources of support as well.
So I mean, Brian, burnout sounds great professionally, and is your home language is Xhosa?
Yes.
Indoni burnout is Xhosa. How do I describe it when I'm coming to you?
Yeah, you get a lot of people using very common terms to actually describe burnout, because it almost feels like it. We don't have a term necessarily of burnout, but we will talk like defiant. That's all about
frustration.
So you use a lot of those common terms. Okay. You just have a little bit more emphasis on those common terms, right? In terms of how you experience it. So it almost feels like stress and burnout are kind of the same things, right? Or you often hear somebody say, you understand? They'll have a lot of emphasis on the normal terms that we use, but that's when you realize, no man, this is not just somebody who's stressed, this is someone who's actually gone to the realm of being burnt out. So I think that's another thing that makes it different, makes it difficult to point out what burnout is, maybe in our languages and in our cultures, is because we don't have those terms. But it doesn't mean we don't experience all of these things, so we need to speak about how they look like a little bit more, so that even if the term is different for us, we are aware that these are things that can happen. So it's not to say recruit yourself from your responsibilities, don't engage. No, it's part of being aware of the fact that those responsibilities can lead you to the symptoms of burnout. Just have a system to manage them as you engage with your responsibilities.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Brian, man. That was very informative. We appreciate the time that you've made for us. Are you open to people contacting you if you're experiencing issues, or is there a platform that people can go to?
Yes, I'm very open to people contacting me. They can give me a shout on my number, 081 508 9885, or you can send me an email as well on Karis, Briann@karispsychology.co.za.
Thank you very much, brother. Much appreciated, all right?
Thank you so much.
Take care. All right, we got the news coming up at 7.